Okay, so hello guys, welcome to my presentations. Today I'm Justin. I'm going to present about the sports in Indonesia. Okay, so the index, what these presentations include will be the geography, the demographic, the sports statistic in Indonesia, the revenue in sports or how they rebuild again, the sports systems in Indonesia, the anti-doping agency in Indonesia, the betting regulations, and some of the professionals football leagues. Okay, so if you can see, yeah. Okay, now we're going to talk about the geography. Okay, so Indonesia is located northwest from Australia. So here you can see the map. From here, you can see Indonesia is located over here from this west until the east. And then there are 17,500 until 18,300 islands in Indonesia. That's why a lot of people call that Indonesia is a country with 1,000 islands. Okay, so Indonesia has a population of almost 300 million people, not actually 300, but almost, I think, to 80 something. Okay, and also the capital of Indonesia is Jakarta, which is located in Java. As you can see in the center of Indonesia here is Jakarta. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the demographic. Okay, so Indonesia is the largest Muslim country in the world with 87% of its population. So can you imagine if the populations of Indonesia, it's almost 300 million and 87% of that 300 millions is Muslim people. And around 7 until 8% is Christians, and the rest like Buddhists and also Hindu, they smaller percentage. Okay, so what issues that normally Indonesia have nowadays? Not nowadays, but what common issue that always people talking about? Okay, so issues relating the access to health and education, as well as rising inequality, are the most pressing social challenges that Indonesia's government will need to confront, because now many inequality in Indonesia that's still happening nowadays, especially in the health and the education aspects. And also we need to recognize that high fertility was a major factor in creating widespread poverty in Indonesia. The new order regime began to implement policies designed to reduce and limit the birth rate in 1968. Okay, the sports statistics. Okay, actually, many sports were imported and some were developed from native traditional sports and become popular in Indonesia, such as the most popular sports in Indonesia, soccer or football, badminton, basketball, swimming, and cycling. In the sports and outdoor segment, the number of users in Indonesia is expected to amount of 40 until 45 million people by 2024. Indonesia also participates in international sporting events such as the Olympic Games and also the Asian Games and also the Southeast Asian Games. Until now, Indonesia only qualified once for the World Cup, which is in 1920 something, I forgot, but it was long ago. Okay, here in this graph, we can see the percentage, the distribution percentage of the sports that Indonesians people usually do. The first one, we have the running and jogging with 13% of the populations, and badminton almost 8-9%, football, cycling, swimming, and etc. And this research studies was collected in 2018, around 60 or until 80,000 people that are joined this research. Okay, so the revenue in sports in Indonesia, or how Indonesia, they are rebuilding the sports sector in Indonesia. Okay, so the revenue in sports and outdoor segment in Indonesia, the budget this in 2020, it's around 1,055 US dollar. And then the revenue is expected to show an annual growth rate of 19.2%, resulting in a market volume of 2 million, almost 2,200,000 by 2024. As we talked before, the users uh, that are using these sport facilities in Indonesia is around 44.8 until 45 million people. That's around 10% until 10% in 2020, but it's also expected to hit almost 16% by 2024. In global comparisons around this revenue or rebuild in sports sector, the most revenue is generated in China in 2020, around almost 34 million US dollar. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the sports system in Indonesia. The National Sports Committee of Indonesia, or we call it KONI, is the National Sport Committee of Indonesia. It was founded in 1946 to unite or together the various satellite of sports associations that was created within the regency or within the local people. So this KONI, this sports committee, they are responsible on sports development as well as organizing some events, sporting events within Indonesian's national boundary or national levels. So only in nationals level. Okay, so but in 2005, KOI or Indonesian's Olympic Committee was formed as a separate entity from KONI. So KOI is responsible as Indonesia's National Olympic Committee to organize Indonesian participations in international sporting events. So not only national, but they are creating another entity to Indonesia participate in international sporting events such as the Olympic Games, Asian Games, and Southeast Asian Games. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the anti-doping agency in Indonesia. Indonesia, as a part of the International Sports Committee, participated in the anti-doping movement by accepting the UNESCO Anti-Doping Convention through the Presidential Regulations number 101 in 2007 concerning the ratifications of the international conventions against doping in sports. Okay, so this Indonesia Anti-Doping Agency, or we call it LADI in Indonesia, it's also as a part in WADA, or World Anti-Doping Organizations. So here we have the organizational structures of the LADI, or the Anti-Doping Agency, but it's in Indonesia. So actually there are many people and many levels that are governed, or the structures that are structures for manage this anti-doping agency. Okay, now we're going to talk about the betting regulations in Indonesia. There are no legal and approved casinos online in Indonesia, also the betting online. But at many places, gambling, arcades, and sports betting are in practice on an illegal basis. So even though uh, they they put this as a illegal, but still there are people that doing these illegal things in Indonesia. Okay, so we're going to talk about the sports organizations in Indonesia. So as we talked before, KONI members consist of the parent organizations of almost all sports branch in Indonesia. The sports organization's parent functions to develop sports under its supervision by coaching or holding competitions between the regions and also the clubs. In total, there are 59 sport organizations in Indonesia. Here I have the list, but I provide to you until the number 23 because otherwise it's too long. We can see the Indonesian Handball Associations, the rafting associations, aerosport associations, until football. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the professionals leagues in Indonesia, or uh, professional sports uh, that are practicing in Indonesia. Okay, so the soccer league system in Indonesia is a series of league system for soccer clubs in Indonesia. Liga Indonesia is the name of the league. It's managed by PSSI, or the sport organizations in Indonesia, the main entity, and then the Indonesian National Soccer Federations. So here we have the current systems of the professional football leagues in Indonesia. So we start with League One, which consists of 18 clubs. And then League Two, which consists of 24 clubs, but divide between the regions, the Western and the Eastern. And also we have the League Three, which is 34 clubs plus 33 teams and divided into 6 groups. Okay, so now here we have the same graph actually about football in Indonesia. The national team, we have the senior until under 12, and also the international competitions such as the Independence Cup, Jakarta City Anniversary Tournament, and also the Menpora Cup. Okay, so here are the reference. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoy, and see you